Tonight, when the sun goes down, you are going to feel it. Not fear exactly, something quieter, something older. A subtle tightening in the chest when the room gets dark. A reluctance to step into the hallway without flipping on the light first. A strange alertness that kicks in the moment the world around you goes black. You probably laugh it off. You are an adult. You know nothing is there. But what if the fear was never about what is there? What if it was always about what used to be? For most of human history, the dark was not a mood. It was a death sentence. Your ancestors did not have walls. They did not have locks. When the sun set, the savannah went quiet, and everything that hunted in the dark came alive. Lions, leopards, hyenas. These animals are not just faster and stronger than early humans. They are built for the night. Their eyes catch light that yours cannot. Their pupils dilate wide. Their retinas are lined with a reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum, a biological mirror that makes the darkness visible to them in ways you can only imagine. You, on the other hand, are essentially blind after sunset. Anthropologist Daniel Lieberman, in his book The Story of the Human Body, describes early Homo sapiens as persistently vulnerable to nocturnal predators, not because they lacked intelligence, but because they lacked the hardware. Your eyes were not designed for the dark. They were designed for the open, sun-drenched savanna, for reading faces, tracking movement, and finding food in broad daylight. The dark was the enemy's territory, and your brain knew it, so it adapted. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux, who spent decades mapping the fear circuitry of the mammalian brain, found that the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure buried deep in your temporal lobe, does not wait for logic. It does not ask questions. It processes threat signals before the thinking part of your brain even knows something has happened. By the time your prefrontal cortex has finished forming a rational thought, your amygdala has already flooded your bloodstream with adrenaline. And what is one of its most reliable triggers? Darkness, sudden visual deprivation, the loss of the one sense that gives you control over your environment. The moment your eyes stop being useful, your brain goes into a kind of high alert, scanning for sounds, amplifying every creak and rustle, manufacturing a low-level dread that something somewhere might be watching. This is not a glitch. This is a feature. In a study published in Sleep Medicine, researchers found that nighttime awakenings triggered heightened states of vigilance even in healthy adults who reported no conscious fear of the dark. The body, it turns out, does not simply rest when the lights go out. It shifts into a quieter, warier version of itself. A version that has been operating since before language, before tools, before fire. A version that remembers. Think about it this way. The ancestors who felt nothing when the sun went down, who wandered carelessly into the dark without a second thought, were the ones who did not survive to pass on their genes. The cautious ones, the ones who flinched, who stayed near the fire, who woke at every unfamiliar sound in the night, those were the ones who lived. You are descended from the frightened. And the fire matters more than you might think. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham argues in his book Catching Fire that the control of fire was the single most transformative event in human evolutionary history, not just for cooking and warmth, but for protection at night. Fire kept the predators back. It gave early humans something the darkness never had before. A boundary. Around that fire, something extraordinary happened. Humans began to talk. They told stories. They named things. They began the slow, collective project of making sense of the world. And a significant portion of those stories, across every culture on Earth, were stories about what lives in the dark. Monsters, demons, spirits. Researcher David Hufford, in his study of supernatural folk beliefs, found a striking pattern across unconnected cultures worldwide. The creatures people feared almost universally shared certain traits. They came at night. They moved in shadow. They were invisible until it was too late. These were not random inventions. They were templates. Built from the same raw material as the leopard, the hyena, the unseen thing that rustled in the grass just beyond the firelight. The monsters your ancestors imagined were, in a very real sense, memories of the animals that once hunted them. And your brain has not forgotten. Here is the counterintuitive part. Your fear of the dark is not irrational. It is the most rational thing about you. Rationality, in the evolutionary sense, does not mean accurate. It means effective. A fear that keeps you cautious in genuinely dangerous environments is rational whether or not the danger is still present. Your brain does not update automatically just because you moved into a house with deadbolts and interior lighting. Evolution is slow. Biology does not know about fluorescent bulbs. So tonight, when you reach for the light switch, what you are really doing is completing an ancient ritual. You are doing what your great-great-great-grandmother did when she threw another branch on the fire. You are pushing back the dark. You are claiming your small circle of visibility. You are telling the part of your brain still crouching on the savanna that you are safe. And here is what is remarkable. That ancient circuit, the one that fires when the room goes dark, the one that makes you pause at the top of the stairs before flipping the light on, that circuit has given you something else. Imagination. Because the moment you stopped being able to see the world clearly, you started building one in your mind. You filled the dark with shapes, with stories, with meaning. The same neural machinery that made your ancestors terrified of the dark also made them the first beings on Earth to sit around a fire and ask why. That question changed everything. Tonight, when the sun goes down, you are going to feel it. That old tightening. That quiet, wordless caution. Do not rush to dismiss it. What you are feeling is not weakness. It is 200,000 years of survival, still running quietly in the background, still doing its job, still keeping you one step ahead of something that no longer waits in the dark, but once did.